stuff is part of you guys planning and executing those plans. And I bet a nickel that next week you're going to do the same thing. Right? So that basic understanding of, okay, what are we doing with what God gave us? He gave us space, he gave us people, he gave us leadership, he gave us hymnals, he gave us a piano, he gave us a piano player. So let's have a worship service. That, on a much larger scale, is what we do with congregations as you look to the future. It's not that we're reinventing, it's that we're building on. We're building on what God's done with us so far. So at the core of everything we do from now into the future is to make sure we have those ministry plans together. What are we doing as a congregation? I'll bet, and I didn't get the nickel thing. That was something my dad always said, because I think his dad used to say, probably a nickel was worth more. But I bet a nickel that we're going to continue having Sunday morning worship, right, for the coming years. I mean, we need to verify that. Like, Jesus, you still want us to do this? He's going to say yes to that, I'm pretty sure. But in the same way, we need to verify, are we still going to take care of young people and teach them about Jesus? Like, that seems like a good idea. Well, in essence, that's what our school is, right? It's the way in which we teach young people about Jesus and their families and guide them in their lives. So, in what a lot of you will see over the coming months in my interaction with the congregation is getting those plans together, making sure we're saying, Jesus, what have you given us? What are our plans for the future? What can we do with what you've given us as we move forward? Built around that plan is the facility planning and how to use that property over the next few years. How do we build the best thing possible? Not just to build something nice, but to facilitate the ministries God's asking of us. That makes sense, right? And the same thing with financial planning. We're not just going to spend money to spend money. No, we have to spend money because that's the way the world works now. And using that money to build the best facilities, to build out our staffing, right? That's part of the thought process. So that, as you can now understand, we're doing what God's asking us to do. So I didn't get a pen and paper, man. Well, you need one too. Okay, you missed one person. So what we're going to do during our time today, though, is I'm going to ask you a few questions, and it's going to lead to those final answers. So, some other things just to keep you aware of this process. I'll be with your faculty and staff tomorrow of your school, meeting with them at various times during the day. I'll be meeting, of course, with the principal and a few other folks as we continue to do some of this first phase work. Our normal operations and congregations are in 3 phases. Phase 1 is where we are right now, and that's basically visioning and counting the cost. It's, Jesus, what's your vision for us? What can we do? What can't we do? What great opportunities have you laid before us? How do we take advantage of those opportunities? And we put together an initial kind of package that says, here's what our ministries will probably look like in the future. That's the vision part. Jesus, what's your vision for us? We put together some initial campus drawings. Now, not necessarily actual drawings, but okay, what kind of a campus do we need in the next few years or the next 10 years? And then what's the basic cost estimates, right? So it's putting that initial package together so that we can all say, as a congregation, which will be in a few months, all right, we see what it's going to take. We see it's possible. We're not the first church to do this, but we see it's possible financially. We see the facilities that we need. We see what it does for our ministries. And then we move forward into planning. So if we agree with that initial package, then we move into phase 2, which is the planning phase. That's when, the architect drawings come around and we do revisions with faculty and with staff and with many of you. That's when we're really designing the ministry plan moving forward. How do we get from where we are to where we're going? What's our staffing plan look like? So for instance, if you're going to expand an area of ministry, do we need staffing to support that area of ministry? You get the idea. But we don't do any of that until we spend time with Jesus, understanding what he's given to us and what he's asking of us, and that we agree, okay, let's pursue this. So that's where we are right now. We're in this first step, and over the coming months, we'll move into that second step. The third step, by the way, is what we usually call a campaign. So that's when we as a congregation come back together and say, we have the plans, they've been vetted, they've been thought about, it makes sense to us, are we going to step into those plans? It's not just about giving money. Campaigns, which we'll get to in months from now, is about us saying, I get where the ministries are going and I want to be part of that. So that's an exciting time that we'll get to in the future. But as we should always start with Jesus and our time with him. So Jesus, what are you asking of us and what do you want us to do? Ooh, I like that. Let me pray for it real quick and then we'll move into this actual work for today. Heavenly Father, as you gather your people, we ask you to continually guide us. That with all the good things you've given to us, from your son Jesus to the very time that you've granted us on this earth, we're using for your purposes, for your benefit. Lord, may we continue to work and bring your gospel to the world, telling our stories on behalf of your son, Jesus, that all people on this island and across the world would know you like we do through your son, Jesus. And it's in his name. Amen. All right, so I'm going to go through a few questions. The piece of paper in front of you, you can kind of write some stuff on it. So when I ask a question, I want everyone to be quiet for like a few seconds. Guys, don't blurt out your answer. Ladies, I know you'll follow directions. So take a few seconds and write down your initial thoughts, and then we'll share, okay? If you are someone who despises meetings like this, and you absolutely do not want to be called on and just want to sit there, you can just sit there. I'm not going to call on anyone, without you offering your answer. But I would ask this: still participate by writing your own thoughts down. Because the series of questions I'm about to ask you are leading you to the final 2 questions that you're going to write and turn in. Does that make sense? So if you don't plan on raising your hand and sharing your thoughts, that's okay. But still write down your initial ideas, because it'll lead you to our final few questions that you'll submit. And those are anonymous too, so not that they're controversial by any means, but certainly helps. All right, so remember that. So when I ask a first question, make sure you just kind of keep quiet, and we'll move on from there. So here's my first question for you. So you can write this down if you're a person that needs to write down a question. What is your greatest hope for people on Maui? What's your greatest hope for people on Maui, for humans that live on Maui? What's your greatest hope? Take 15 seconds, think about it. Okay, no ordained people can answer this question first. So somebody raise your hand if you want to suggest something. There are no wrong answers. Come on, someone be brave. Oh, that's pretty good. To know Christ. Good. And no one else can say that, so give me something else. Yeah.
Love through knowledge of God.
Building on that, I like that. So peace and love. Something self-sustained. Good. Yes, ma'am. Good, good, good. So that the community be loving and supporting. Okay. Yes, sir.
The kid wants to grow up and actually live and raise a family here, they can.
Yeah, I like that.
Faith of knowing that Jesus brings us eternal life.
All right, this is good. So, as you all kind of can probably guess, this was not a trick question, but kind of, because there are lots of hopes that we have for people, right? And you kind of tipped your hat by saying I have the secular version, because I know the key word there was what? Greatest hope, right? And your greatest hope is, it was the first answer we got, that people would, that they even know Christ. And then all those other answers spill out of that one, right? So if people know Christ, et cetera. And the cool thing about, even about your answer, the second one, is I want people to know Christ, and I want them to be able to continue to live on this island so they can tell more people about Christ, right? So even that spins into it. It's a good reminder at the beginning of this process, and kind of as we continue on our day, that really is our greatest hope, isn't it? That everyone knows Jesus like we know Jesus. That has to be the foundation of our vision, of our time moving forward. So that was good. To know Jesus and make him known. All right, so your second question, this is a real one. I want you to take some time on this one too. Remind me the name of this town that I'm in right now. Thank you, because I don't want to mess up saying it, so I'm going to make you guys say it. I'll get the language eventually, but I want you to describe this town. So what I'm thinking is, if I spent 8 days, a Sunday just hanging out in this part of Maui, or within maybe 5 square miles, right? You know the area. Describe it to me. What would I say if I was here? So take a few moments and just think through, how would you describe this area? So it's Kahului? So there's 3 consonants, three syllables. Kahului. I'll get there. Okay, who wants to take a shot? You're describing in the back. Part of Maui, that's good. Yes. I love that. Yeah, it's part of Maui. What else? Yeah. Multi-ethnic. Okay. Someone else? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Generational. Who was born in this area of Maui? A few of you? Yeah? Yeah. How many of you were born on Maui in general? How many of you were born in Hawaii? Okay. I mean, anyone who... Yeah, you got it. Okay, cool. Something else about this little part of this town. Yeah.
It just seems like a lot of people live here.
Yeah, like that. Okay, hub of Maui. Yeah, that's right. I flew in, fly in, fly out. Yeah. Nice. Central. When people say they're upstate, what does that mean? Or upcountry? But there's 2 hills. So to the west? To the east. I'm learning. See, when you grow up on a peninsula, it's pretty easy. You're either from the good part or the bad part. Miami, right? Yeah. Anything else? What else? It's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's Emmanuel. But yeah, so tourists are down in Kihei, Wailea, Lahaina. I'm using words that I don't know. Yeah. That way. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So related to this, it's the third question, but it's related to this. What are needs in this part of Maui? Okay, so take a second. Same deal. Kind of write down some thoughts. What are the needs that you've seen in this part of the world? You can't say Jesus because we already got that one checked off, right? So everyone needs Jesus. So besides Jesus, what do people need? Take 15 seconds. Think about that. Okay, who wants to take a shot? Yes, ma'am. How many of you wrote down affordable housing? So then, yeah, the related homeless. Yeah. Other needs that you've seen. Those are 2 huge ones for sure.
Poor, hungry.
So yeah, so there's just homeless, poor, hungry. So food insecurity, though, is part of it, you're saying, too, food? So childcare. Interesting. Someone say good school. Yeah,
We gotta get elementary school over here.
that's a lot. No, okay, but actually in this area, like this area of the city, there's not like gym space or. Not available. Yeah.
What are we talking about? It's not available.
Yeah, gym time, gym space. Yes, ma'am.
I thought of schools too, because I was thinking of families, but then it made me think back to number two. I don't know if somebody said, I think I heard multi-ethnic, but I think we're multi-generational too. So there's smart families, and there's older people, and we definitely need services for elderly and care services. For all.
Ah, I gotcha. So elderly care and yeah.
Say again?
So
Integration between elderly and youth together.
so there's some cross-generational stuff that needs to happen. Like that's an actual need of bringing people together. Yeah. Okay.
I think a lot of families feel the need for like activities for kids outside of school, sports or extended learning.
That's good. I will say, not to lead the conversation, but that was a huge discovery of our denomination, which is we're a very kid-based denomination, if you didn't know that. Because we still have the second largest school system behind Catholics around the country. And of course the pandemic hit and we all went, uh-oh, what do kids do now? And we kind of, I mean, you walk around the mall, that's what I did. I wasn't allowed to, my mom would let me do that, but my friends did. My parents kept me out of jail. That's the actual story of my childhood. It worked. Good work, parents. Okay. Hey, let's shift gears a little bit. This is all really good stuff. So here's a scenario. If I'm here from a Sunday to a Sunday with you all as a congregation, and I spend time with the Emmanuel congregation, and Sunday afternoon when I call my mom, which I will do, like I do every Sunday, lest she disown me, I would say, hey mom, I spent a week with this church, and let me tell you about it. And I would say these things. So what you're doing is you're describing yourselves. So describe Emmanuel. So take a few seconds, write down your initial thoughts. If I say describe Emmanuel, you would say these things.
What you care of man
All right, describe yourselves. You're allowed to be a little vain. It's okay. Tell me about you.
We are a family of believers in Christ. Jesus here to lead, love, educate, serve, and share.
is your mission statement?
At first I was like, we got some poetry. Oh, that's what she's saying. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So. Wait, do you have the bulletin in front of you though? That would have been cheating. Okay. How else? Yeah, describe yourselves. Give me some adjectives or something. Maybe a participle if you're wild.
Supportive.
Great vision, few do a lot.
Say it again.
Great vision, a few do a lot.
Ooh.
Prayerful.
You're teaching.
Guiding.
Say it again.
Guiding.
Guided. So related to that one, what do you think some of your greatest assets are? And say Jesus, and then say your principal, and then say your pastor. There we go. Good. And teachers. Okay, great. So besides those things, yeah, what are the kind of the greatest assets? I was like, man, this church has, music. It's music program. Yeah. School family involvement. Yeah, that's you.
Sense of place.
Ooh, a sense of place. I like that. That's good. So your school, by the way, I mean, that was sort of assumed in this as a great asset, right? Yeah.
That's present. It's felt every year.
I like that. Anything else? All right, so take a moment on this one too. If I walked down the street, around the corners, and I knocked on some doors, and I said, hey, random person, tell me about Emmanuel, what would they tell me? So take a second. I know, that's...
But he's saying,
No, they don't know.
yeah, but that used to be how it was a lot on Molly. Nobody really knew too much about.
Yeah, so honestly, every church I've ever worked with, and I've done this event 100 times, every single church, that's the first answer, is they don't know us. So first, let's process that, because it's true, and we can be a little bit louder. Lutherans we're not as loud as other denominations, so. So let's do this. If they do know us, how would they know us? Right? So yeah, start there. So the easy one, right, is the school. So, I went to school there, or my kid went to school there, or it has that school, right? By the way, yesterday, I talked to people. Can you guess how to do that? So I was talking to someone yesterday, and of course they asked what I'm doing here. And I said, I'm working with a school and a church, blah, blah, blah. And they said, oh, what's school? I said, Emmanuel. They said, oh, Emmanuel. And then they described where you were, and they were around the corner. They had no relation to you. They didn't have kids here, et cetera. So they did know that there was this Emmanuel Lutheran school, and that you were a good school. So that was kind of cool. Kudos. Tell me about this pumpkin festival here on an island that definitely doesn't have pumpkins. You have pumpkins? I guess you could grow anything here, I guess, is the main idea there. But okay, so tell me about the pumpkin festival. There's pumpkins involved. Yeah.
1,300-ish the last time, yeah.
I need to know. So what happens? I show up and there's pumpkins involved. What else?
It's like a carnival, there's games and food and entertainment.
Jumping castle, games,
Sunday option.
food,
Sunday option.
I like it. When is this?
October Saturday, Friday before.
So it's like a festival in October. Oktoberfest.
It doesn't have beer yet.
Yeah. All right, I have to tell you this is the leading thing. First of all, Oktoberfest is technically in September. So I was pastor of Trinity Lutheran Church in downtown Orlando, a big church and school down there, big cathedral-looking thing. And when I got there, they did what was called a Reformation rally. And we have those back up, and it's of course sort of a Michigan area Lutheran thing. So when I got there, my call, there was two of us pastors. My call was a pastor of the school and our big outreach events that we were going to ramp up. So it's downtown Orlando. It's a big event city if you don't know that about Orlando. So I said, so we have this thing called a Reformation rally. I said, yeah, tell me about it. So it's on Sunday afternoon after worship, and we all clear out the parking lot, and we put up tables, and we have some, I call it Oompa music, but German music, and we serve beer, and we have bratwursts, and the kids play some games, and we all hang out. I said, so you have an Oktoberfest? I'm like, I guess so. So I said, what about if this next year? So I got called there, what is that? When do we graduate from seminary? May, so that summer. So it was October. So I said, let's call it October. So the same thing, we'll just change to Oktoberfest. Of course, the whole community came, right? Because it's an Oktoberfest and, like flies to a plane. Within 2 years, we had to shut down the street. Well, we're in downtown Orlando. We had to shut down the street in front of us. And so it became this huge Oktoberfest for downtown Orlando. Here's the cool part. 2 doors down from us was the German consulate. And they got wind of it, and I met with the German consulate, and I said, hey, and they're like, we want to sponsor it. We'll just give you cups and stuff. It wasn't like money or anything like that. So all of our cups had the German consulate logo on it. And they named us the official Oktoberfest in Orlando by the German consulate. So on our sign was this official stamp from Germany that said we were via Valley official. You know, I'm not Italian, I'm not even German, but I'll take the stamp. So anyway, that event became a huge thing and was really cool. So anyway, your version, awesome too, love it. So you have a big pumpkin festival. Hey, that's that place I went and had a great time, had some food, threw some pumpkins. I don't know what you do with pumpkins, but awesome. All right, what else? Well, how else do people know you? So school, pumpkin festival, yes ma'am. Tell me about your food pantry.
Once a month, here, and then folks around the way, you come and pick it up. And they always give us thank yous for all the donations that are going.
So that's that church. They participate in the food pantry and they are connected to us there. It's good.
Like a little order for 3 weeks at least. Blessing boxes for the President of Children's Justice Center, and we collect food, like tons, like we load 3 vehicles.
Cool. I like that. Okay. How else would folks know us?
Possibly by the pregnancy center or pastor was very involved with.
Okay.
I would say it's word of mouth. A lot of families know each other.
Like that. Because you guys all live.
I will tell you, a parent told me, it was a Catholic parent who said, sometimes we have too much Jesus. And I thought, wow, that's awesome.
So we built out we were infants to 8th grade, and our K-8 was about 100 kids. Our infants to 8 peaked at about 350 when I was there, and so it was part of my big job was growing that part of our school, and we were downtown, so we always had a wait list because parents wanted to drive with their kids to work. They would basically drop the kid off, go to work. They could visit, especially infants. They could visit their infant throughout the day, and then pick up their kids and drive home. So we were a destination place, which meant we had a lot of non-Christians who would use our school. I visit most of the classrooms. Definitely, we had 60 kids in 4 and 5s. So I visit them every week, and I'd play, the 3 chords that every pastor should know, on a guitar, and sing my VBS-y kind of children's-y songs, Father Abraham stuff. You don't know that. Well, parents, within a few weeks of school starting, especially parents who weren't Christian and didn't know anything about the church, they would meet me because I'd meet, during pick up and drop off, I'd interact with the kids, and they'd be like, "You're Pastor Billy. You taught him that song, and he will not stop singing it every," with Father Abraham or something, where like 4-year-olds just get in repeat mode. But that's awesome, right? Like, we had a lot of stories of parents slowly coming back into the knowledge of the church from kids, songs, and Jesus. Okay. Related question. How should people know us? So if we had our druthers, how should the folks around us know us? What would we want them to say about us? Food is good. Yeah. Granted, we're hungry. Got to that. Okay. Yes, Alan? That's that church that really loves people. Yeah. Yeah. What else?
I think through our students, when we go on excursions, we hear from like firemen or wherever we're going, how kids are just awesome. They participate, they're leaders, well-spoken, educated.
So that's that church and school that has awesome kids. Like their students are just awesome. in the various ways. Great. What are some other ones?
Quality education.
Right, so quality education, definitely related. How else would we want people to know us?
The arts, I would say. Right? The arts. Just through music,
Well, yeah. Think about it bigger than that. How else? How else do people know us besides the school stuff?
They gotta think about us the way that we are disciples of Christ. We gotta be a people that our lives reflect that within His presence. Be humble.
Yeah, that's a really Christ-like, man, those people are nice. They're kind. They serve. Yeah, that's good. Those people really serve. Yeah. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
We have people pick up trash along the roads and the ocean side, and we need more community involvement in things that are happening that are good.
So that's a church that's really involved in the community. They're really helping. They're really contributing to the betterment of this community. Yeah. That's good. All right. Is it bless or bless? Bless, right? Is your amazing poem that you wrote for me earlier? What does the B stand for? Okay, everybody write down the word believe. Okay, give me a second. Believe. What's the L? What's the E? Okay. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to ask you the two final questions. So all of you should sell a piece of paper. Either, it's up to you, if you want to tear your paper in half and have a clean piece that you're going to use, you can use the one you have. Just scratch out your notes so we can see what your answers are. What you're going to do is I'm going to ask you two final questions. And the first question is going to be pretty easy. You're going to be giving me two things and you're writing down. The second question is going to be related to bless. Okay, so I'm gonna have you kind of write some stuff on a piece of paper. So make sure you have a good section of the paper. And so the first thing I want you to do is write a number 1 and then give yourself some space to answer that question because you'll give about a couple sentences there. Then for question 2, I want you to write down basically BLESS, right? So write believe, love, educate, serve, and share. So everybody write this down because you're going to turn this into me. So believe, love, educate, serve, and share. Believe, love, educate, share. So here's what I want you to do. The first question, and I'm going to explain these two questions to you. I'm going to pray, and then we're going to be quiet while you all finish your answers, and then you'll give them to me. Okay? And then so you know what's going to happen is I'm going to work with your leadership to process what you all said, and that will be the foundation of our work moving forward. It'll make sense in a second. So the first question is simply this. What are 2 things we should do in the next 2 years? So question 1 is that. What are 2 things we as a congregation should do in the next 2 years? Here's what you can't write down. Don't write down build a building. Don't waste your answer on that one. And don't write down get more members. Don't waste your answer on that one either. I want you to think, as we've talked through just a few things, about our community. Oh yeah, and don't write down get a full-time pastor. Because he's in the back right now, so I don't feel bad. So 2 things in the next 2 years. So I want you to think about this. Okay, God gave us a lot of stuff. He gave us property, he gave us people, he gave us his son Jesus, he gave us time, he gave us his land, etc. He put us in the midst of a community with actual needs, people with needs, Jesus being the ultimate one. He gave us great ministries like a school, these connections to the community we've already mentioned today. So what are 2 things we should do with all of that in the next 2 years? Just don't waste your answer on get more members or a pastor or a building. Okay, that's the first question. The second question is related to the believe, love, educate, serve, share. I want you to just simply write a short sentence or a little note for each one of those words. And what you're doing is you're saying, what do those words mean to you? So when you hear the word believe, what does that mean for you personally? What does that mean in your life when you hear from Jesus, believe, right? Or from your congregation, believe. When you hear love, what does that mean to you? When you hear educate, what does that mean to you? Serve and share. So just a sentence on what that word means to you personally. So 2 things in the next 2 years, and then expand out that bless, those blessed words. Okay? You'll see me again in a few months. I'll be in the background, so some of you will see me on Zoom and things like that. Some of you will see me tomorrow. But we'll have a good time. And let's pray for you as you answer these questions as we kick things off. Heavenly Father, you've given us everything. Your Son Jesus, this place, this time, to be focused on you. And we ask that you would guide us through this process that we're stepping into, that we would use our property and our ministries according to your will, but ultimately, Lord, that we would use every moment of every day for your purposes. Lord, this congregation, you've given so much, and we ask that our plans would honor and reflect that truth, that we would use our collective minds and passions and heart and energy to continue our work together in your name. Lord, bless our faculty and staff as they continue in ministry tomorrow morning, for the young people that you'll gather here as part of your congregation to learn and grow in this school. And Lord, guide our call process, that the person that you're preparing to be the next pastor here is confident and ready because of your Son's Jesus' impact on his life. And that in all things, we move forward as your people in this world bringing your kingdom. Lord, guide this process and the leaders that you've lifted up to be engaged in it. Bless these answers in this time that we focus on you. For the sake of Jesus, our Lord. Amen.